Hello and welcome. I am Dr. Lara May, a clinical pharmacist specializing in functional medicine, as well as a certified yoga teacher and Reiki master. I run a truly integrative health coaching practice encompassing functional medicine lab testing, yoga and meditation, and a sprinkling of Reiki energy medicine. Join me here on Light Body Radio to break through your health plateau and come into alignment with your natural vitality. Hello and welcome to Light Body Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Lara May, and today we have with us again Nate Zeleznick. Welcome. I'm happy to have you back. He was actually just announced as the winner of the 2024 Fortuna Global Excellence Award for U.S. Wellness Instructor of the Year and Health 2.0 Conference 2024 Visionaries Award in Dubai. So congratulations on that. He is a globally sought after keynote speaker, transformational trainer, and human potential innovator. He's been with us before, so I'll keep this short, but as the original pioneer and one of the only American master trainers of a 500-year-old Royal Indonesian energy, wellness, and martial arts system, Nate has revolutionized how ancient wisdom merges with cutting-edge science through the integrated Ascension method, or IAM for short. So I'll stop there. Welcome back. I'm happy to have you.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here again. And hello to everybody out there who's listening or watching right now. Great to be here with you.
So let's start off with these new accolades. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so back in February of 2024, I was actually approached by an organization called the Fortuna Global Excellence Awards and asked if I would be interested in applying for an award. Now, just to see, they had actually searched me out and asked if I would be willing to participate in this. And I was like, okay, sure. And so I went through the vetting process with interviews, looked at my bio, sent in my resume, all the things that have to actually go into an award this prestigious. And I didn't actually realize until I got over there how prestigious it is. So there were 840,000 applicants for these awards, 840,000, and they awarded 197 people is all. So it was like a 0.0002% of people who applied actually received an award. And so this was really an amazing for me to be recognized on such a large international stage in Dubai with people from all over the world was truly special because I've done a lot of work here in Utah. I've done a lot of speaking around the world, but then to actually be recognized by a very prestigious organization. And then on top of that, with the Health 2.0 conference, which is the second largest medical, pharmaceutical, and wellness conference in the world, for them to actually award me the Visionaries Award, that's nobody will ever say that I just followed everybody else. And I didn't. They're completely off the wall, weird, trying, my best to help elevate humanity. And the only way that happens, just like if you look at Einstein or Musk or Da Vinci or whoever it is that actually changed the world, they're the ones who didn't do what everybody else was doing. And so for me to actually have these things, it was such an honor and a blessing. And for sure, I've got, it's interesting. Once you start becoming known in these circles with awards and public speaking, et cetera, then other people get wind of you. And so there've been a lot of different offers to travel around the world and teach, and which is great. So I'm very excited to do that.
Amazing. Well, congratulations. And let's jump into this work that you have been so acknowledged for. So last time you were here, we talked about the breath work a little bit, but I want to sort of dive a little deeper and, talk about how we can also sort of activate these quote unquote the dormant senses, or go beyond our five tangibles that we work with on a daily basis or live with maybe So let's start there if we can.
Okay, well,
Is that too vague in general?
that's great, and that is about 10 podcasts worth just talking about that. But we'll go there. So first of all, the most important thing that we need to consider is our health. And I say that because if you're able to see through walls, or you're able to astral travel, you're able to hands-on heal, but you're sick or you're dead, doesn't matter. We didn't come here to impress other people. We came here in order to send information back to our soul group, our higher self, to the source. And if all we're doing is comparing ourselves to other people or trying to be quote unquote better than, which you cannot be, you can only be the same as, but we can make that distinction in our mind when we see the separateness or the, what I call otherness. I am other than the other people. I am different than the other people, and they're not me. That's a big concept right there. However, if you look at the greatest teachers, Jesus, Buddha, Zoroaster, Krishna, these people, they all said, treat the neighbor as thyself. At least in the Bible, Jesus said that, right? Treat the neighbor as thyself, but not like you want them to treat you. Treat them as if they are you, because they are you. They're just another version of you having different experiences through the lens of this vehicle of consciousness in order to send information back to the all that is. So once again, big concept, but why that's really important is that so many people step into my world, and can they develop superhuman powers? Sure. But like I said, if you're sick, if you're dead, if you're stressed, if you are doing it for spiritual egotism reasons, then it's not worth it. And personally, my observation after training thousands of people is that the people who want to do it because it would be quote unquote cool never get it, and they never will. Mm-hmm. And that's just the way it is. They can build their chi, they can build their energy, because that's a biological, physical, energetic process that we can do. If you have a body, it will work. But when it comes down to the mind, and it comes down to the expansion of our consciousness, that's where we need to get rid of all the BS that says, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, so therefore I must be better than and more than other people in order to feel like I'm okay. That's a big task, Lara. That's a big task for all of us while we're here, right? Mm-hmm. And it is the most worthwhile one. So I start with health first. So in all of my programs, we start off with this hypoxic breath work, which has been proven by science, actually won the Nobel Peace Prize, Nobel Prize for Medicine and Physiology, not the Peace Prize, in 2019, showing its effects on things like diabetes and cancer. But this hypoxic breath work, which is unique to the integrated ascension method and its parent art, Marpati Puti, the white dove system out of Indonesia, very different. And it's been shown to raise our red blood cell count, lower our blood pressure, balance our A1C, help us with mitochondrial activation, also the spiritual and mental aspects with emotional intelligence and spiritual intelligence. They're off the charts, and they're reproducible. But we start with our health first. And so once we have our body healthy and we get our mind and our heart in a healthy place, then we can start to look outside. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, as somebody who used out-of-body experiences and remote viewing and meditation completely as an escape for years, I can tell you this: there is no escape. There is no escape. There isn't. You're here to do what you're here to do. Mm-hmm. And the more that people distract themselves, they suppress things, they repress things, they overexpress things through anger or maybe through overjoy even, that can also be a distraction that takes us away from truly feeling and dropping in with who we are and why we're here. Now, when it comes down to these, in India, they're called the siddhis, or the abilities, right? Things like seeing without your eyes, hearing from a distance, bilocation, out-of-body experiences, telepathy, psychokinesis, etc., the quote-unquote superpowers. Well, first we need to get our body well and get the energy flowing, and then we can start to work on those. And the cool thing is, and I don't know, for some people it's not that cool. They're like, I want to see without my eyes, or I want to levitate and I won't be happy unless I can do that thing. And then they find out that their talent is actually something totally different, where their superpower is dropping in with someone heart to heart in state, calming their nervous system down
Mhm.
and helping them actually ascend. That is the superpower, I think, of all superpowers, because when we're giving back, I help you, I help myself. The rising tide does float all ships. So for me, that's one of my superpowers, is if I
Yeah.
can just even sit with someone just for a few minutes, don't have to say anything. When they start to cry and they start to release these things that have been pent up and bottled up and hurting them and causing this stress and creating this disease, and they're actually able to let that go, that is a superpower. That's one of
Mhm.
those abilities that for me, is the most glorious, really, of them all. Because I came here to the planet to serve and to help, and when I do that, I actually get to. When I teach people how to impress other people, I am not helping them.
Right. I mean, so much of what you said, I feel like needs just to be, even just be like fleshed out a little, like
Right.
starting even with like using meditation as an escape. So I think a lot of people come to meditation as a stress management system, which is fantastic because it totally is. But and then you realize, oh, well, I can detach from this stress. But then you sort of, instead of using it as an integration method, it's become a crutch for a separation, like another tool for separation. And like you said, we are all of one. And that's what so many of our spiritual traditions throughout history have taught, regardless of where you are on the planet and what school of thought, is we are all one. We are all of the same source. And we come into this physical body to have a very unique human experience, but we're still spiritual beings from made up of the same stuff of the stars are made up of, and we go back to that when we leave these physical bodies. And so just it's like an unlearning, I feel like. They talk about this level of amnesia that you go through when you're, reincarnating, or when you're coming from your soul self into a human body. And I think that, in order for us to even get to that level of awareness and understanding, there it takes a journey to get there. Like not many of us are even, when we are raised in this human vessel, like it's not talked about, like that part is, it's like this esoteric piece that we have to come to at our own time and our own place, and whatever that journey is. But like you said, like we all have our own superpower, and I feel like our journey, our unique journey, brings us to that superpower. And we might have these external expectations of ourselves,
Mm.
again, because we think we know or want something, but then like when we start to settle into that heart space and really start to get into the practices and the wisdom behind the practices, then we start to really learn, okay, what is my service work here? What is my, some people call it their soul purpose or their life path, whatever you want to call it. I feel like it's all the same thing. We're all, I think we come here again to have this unique experience, but then again too, like to hold space for each other.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and to your point, I agree wholeheartedly that we're energy, we're consciousness that exists everywhere in the universe that simply has a body at the moment. And I wouldn't even say has a body. We are simply experiencing through the vessel,
Hmm.
which we have to come give back. And there are some, there is a difference. And for me, this is a really big distinction. The difference between truth and falsehood. And when I say truth, I say absolute, objective, universal truth.
Hmm.
Not opinionated truth, but truth. And here's the interesting thing. I don't know much. I'll be honest. There's still so much that I have left to learn. And I love that fact about life that I get to learn every day. And I know that there are a few immutable things that we can't really argue with. The first one is you exist. Second one is you're having experience. Third, it's ongoing. Fourth, you can't shut it off no matter what you do. Fifth, you have to give your body back. You don't get to keep it. And sixth, everything changes except for the first five things.
Yeah.
And so,
For sure does.
you approach it from that, it starts to, instead of going, oh, I'm grateful for the day, which is good. I'm appreciative of this, which is good. You start to actually have reverence for your life. Reverence meaning that every single thing from a stubbed toe to a dropped coffee cup to an orgasm to traffic, everything is divine, no matter what. And the fact that you get to experience it, just even a single breath, when we do that, we take in more oxygen molecules than there are grains of sand in the world. Every time we take a breath, that's how many are going in there to nourish us, to energize us, to heal us. And we take it for granted. When we start to become cognizant and have reverence for every single process in our body, every single thing that's happening around us, all of the things that we're not even consciously aware of, but sustain us. I'm sure glad I don't have to think about my digestion or how many white blood cells are being produced in my spleen. And, it's like all these things run in a divine matrix of perfection for most of us. And to that point, for when they don't, we get what a lot of people would call disease or disease, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what can we do? What can we do in order to move that, our body and our chemicals and our thoughts back into homeostasis, especially our nervous system? The autonomic nervous system is very important. Most people are they're just redlined all the time. They're in adrenal fatigue and blasting all the time, even if they think they're calm and chill.
Right. They don't even know it.
It's a subconscious process.
Yeah. I've been
And
there. Personally,
we all
yeah.
are.
Yeah.
And so until you actually get hooked up to an HRV, a heart rate variability monitor, you don't even have a clue. You could be a very devout meditator and very relaxed, and your nervous system is still very, we'll just say, agitated.
Mm-hmm.
And so once you do, that's one of the most important things for meditation, is to learning how to bring ourselves back into that homeostasis where we're not in fight or flight, and we're also not in rest and digest, because those are two extremely energy intensive processes. Digestion is the second most energy intensive process that our body undergoes, period. So if you're digesting, well, you're actually stressed because your body has to use so much energy to break down that food and utilize those chemicals. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just get right into the middle part where we're not resting or digesting, we're not repairing or building, we're also not breaking ourselves down. We're actually in balance. And so to that end, since I was on your show last, I have had a beautiful partnership with a scientist by the name of Dr. Jeffrey Thompson, and he's the owner of Scientific Sounds. And for people that are interested in this, it's on my website under the affiliates. And Dr. Thompson is able to do things with sound over the past 40 years, selling millions of albums, working with some of the biggest companies in the world and some of the most famous people. He can do things with your nervous system to get you into that balance in a patented way that no one else in the world knows how to do. It's incredible. I've actually lived with him, like stayed in his house, and I got to pick his brain. And the first time I walked into his house, he gave me a hug and we sat down, and I did not move for 8 hours.
Wow.
I sat at the feet of a true master. He's a doctor, he's a scientist, he's a composer, he's a spiritualist, all wrapped into one. And he's an innovator who's been recognized worldwide. So Scientific Sounds is incredible. So if any of you out there are listening and you actually have trouble meditating and getting into that state, his brainwave entrainment it'll rock you. It'll rock your world, your spiritual world, for sure. And so bringing things like that to people who want to actually step into the meditation and the healing space is really important. And the reason why is studies that I've read have shown that through EEGs and MRIs, Even experienced meditators, when they meditate for, say, an hour, they're actually only in a meditative state for between 5 to 7 minutes of that hour. The rest of the time, they're reeling their monkey mind back in and
Right.
staying present.
Yeah.
But these are things that we can measure. We can actually look at an EEG. We can look at heart rate variability. We can say, oh, wow, that person is actually meditating. And what Dr. Thompson does is he puts it so that you can actually get to that point and you will stay there for a half an hour. And so if it's, average person is actually meditating for 5 minutes out of an hour, and you're able to stay there for 30, you just like take 30 divided by 5 is 6. So you meditate for a half an hour, and the body and the mind and the energy actually gets the benefit of 6 hours of meditation if you were able to sit. Most people, unless you're a Zen monk or something like that, are not going to be able to sit for 6 hours straight and meditate. Good luck with that, and not have your mind all over everywhere, right? And so this is such an invaluable tool. And so things like that really, really help. And that's why with my integrated ascension method, I'm all about taking the new technologies that there are and integrating them with this super powerful meditation and breathwork system, which by itself is life-changing. But wow, you throw in like brain training, biofeedback, organic food, vibroacoustic, and it's just nuts.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think too, we're all looking for that way or method or the tools to really sort of jumpstart us out of the situation we've gotten ourselves into. Like you didn't, and I've been through my own adrenal fatigue journey. Like we didn't create these dis-ease or chronic illnesses overnight. Like that was out years and years of choices and habits and being in a way that wasn't serving us. And so it also stands to reason that we're not going to get out of it overnight either. However, that doesn't mean that it also has to take the same amount of time. We can accelerate the journey back to homeostasis, I think, especially with that intention and that drive and motivation to get there.
Without a doubt. And that's what I love to do. Is I love to hack the brain, hack the body, hack the energy, hack the spirit, not in a bad way, not the hacker like, computer viruses, not like that, but the other one, to be more efficient, to do more and get more with less input, less effort, less struggle. Now, granted, integrated ascension method breathing is not easy. It's just as hard for a Navy SEAL as it is for a person with one lung and asthma, though. It's actually just as hard. Or I should say it's just as powerful. Hard is really a relative term because some people are, this isn't hard. This is beautiful. I love it. It's like I'm walking into heaven. And other people say, oh, this is like hell. And I'm like, just go through hell. You will get to heaven on the other side. All you got to do, 2 more steps. That's all you got to do. And when they do, they go, oh my God. And it always happens that way. And I love that. And there are other things out there as well to help accelerate this, because there are also really big benefits to doing things the traditional way. There are, absolutely. There are also some pitfalls to doing things the traditional way. And for myself, and I can't speak for you or anybody else on the planet, but for me, I want to understand what is real. What is actually real about this universe and about this existence? Not what do I believe, because belief is a poor substitute for knowledge. I want to know. So I want to explore. In order to do that, I personally don't really find myself having 30 years of time to go sit in a monastery in Thailand and meditate and burn incense and chant. I just don't. I don't. But that doesn't mean that my soul isn't on that path to realizing all those things. So how can we do it more efficiently and do it in a way that the ancients may not have thought of? And to that point, we can segue into that thing you were talking about as far as these different senses, about the 5 senses. So if you think about it, we have way more than 5 senses. All right. So of course we see with our eyes, we hear with our ears, we feel with our skin, smell with our nose, and we taste with our tongue. However, we also have cold receptors, heat receptors, balance receptors, proprioceptors that tell us where we are in space. We have nociceptors, which are pain, as are nerve cells that conduct pain. We all know what that is. We have hunger receptors. We also have electromagnetic receptors. We have all these different things going on all the time. Immune receptors. So the thing is that the ancient Egyptians said that we have 360 senses, not just 5, 360. So it makes me wonder, what have we forgotten in 5,000 years? Well, let's
Right.
see. We don't know how they built the pyramids. We know that with our machinery and equipment now, we cannot do that.
Mhm.
No matter how many Jewish slaves we brought in, we couldn't do it. That's just not
Right.
that. And so they also did brain surgery successfully. They also had light bulbs. They had the ability to transmit electricity. They had the ability with different acid tanks to create electricity. So we lost all that knowledge. We don't even know what their language sounded like. We had to get the Rosetta Stone to even decipher hieroglyphics because for thousands of years, nobody knew what they meant. So that was an entirely different, really kind of like a human race. They may have had the same genes, but they had a totally different type of technology. And we know that. And so with that in mind, what else are we capable of that we are completely oblivious to and missing right now? That's an important question, because I like to say having the right question is smart, but having the right answer is smart, but having the right question is genius.
Mhm.
And our brains love to answer questions. They A lot of us don't like to be told what to do, but just try not to answer a question if somebody asks you a question. Even if it's a personal question and you don't want to talk about it, your brain immediately wants to answer it because that's what we do. And it's an evolutionary mechanism. It makes sense, right? You're walking around in the bush 30,000 years ago, see a snake, like, can I eat it? Is it poisonous? What should I do right here? Is something going to
Right.
eat me? Or can I eat it? Can I kill it? I don't know. And so asking questions literally is a survival mechanism, which
Mhm.
then adapted to be amazing to the point where we can have introspection on a deep and a spiritual level and self-realization.
Yeah, and I think the one thing, even if we were to try to simplify all of these past civilizations that had this amazing technology that we don't understand. And even I think, the closest thing that we've come to since is Nikola Tesla's work. And even so much of that was, suppressed after he died.
Right.
That we're again just now starting to rediscover and re-understand is that resonance is really what a lot of it comes down to. Like once we start to vibrate at the same level as whatever it is that we're working towards. So maybe like we are looking for some sort of healing within our physical body. That's what most of us I think are looking for. And
Yeah.
then once we achieve that, then like you said, then we even have the mental capacity to go deeper or go further.
Hmm.
And so, you and I talked a little bit before we started this episode about, wanting to talk about that physical healing piece of it, and especially for, leaders within our community. And that to me, I work a lot with other healthcare practitioners that have also worked themselves into some sort of illness or dis-ease,
Yeah.
and helping them come out of that and heal themselves, because that's really like we're all our own best healers, and we might seek out other people to help us, but really those people are just helping us understand again how to come back within a homeostasis on our own. At least that's how I see myself too. Like I'm
Yeah.
not fixing you or any of my clients. They're doing that on their own. I'm just helping bring tools into their realm that they can decide to implement themselves or not.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely right. And so to that end, there's another very well-known, brilliant gentleman who's no longer on the planet named Buckminster Fuller. So for the people out there who have never heard of Bucky, as he was called, he was known as the Da Vinci of the modern era, and he had 50 doctorate degrees, 50 doctorate. degrees. And I've got a quote right here on my desk from him. I keep it close, and I'll read it to you because this is very important that people get this if they are ready to hear this. Never forget that you are one of a kind. Never forget that if there weren't any need for you in all of your uniqueness to be on this earth, you wouldn't be here in the first place. And never forget, no matter how overwhelming life's challenges and problems seem to be, that one person can make a difference in the world. In fact, it is always because of one person that all the changes that matter in the world come about. So be that one person. And that's where, if I had a mic, I would drop it, but it's
right.
expensive, so I won't. And it's true. And Gandhi said it as well, be the change that you wish to see in the world, right? And this is so true. And that's why when it comes down to enhancing these senses, it's important that people do not try to be something that they may not be. And it brings me back to a quote by Albert Einstein, that if you try to convince a fish to climb a tree, it will forever live its life thinking that it is stupid. And so that's why I actually stopped my other business. One of the reasons, and now I do the integrated ascension method, is I help people unlock what their future human or superhuman ability is without saying it must be this and only this, and this is all this can do. Because, hey, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you're going to be the first person that actually will be able to freaking Superman fly. I'm not going to tell you you can't. I don't know.
Right?
I
Yeah.
don't know. I know that according to physics, none of this physical matter actually exists. It's all
Right.
just light blinking in and out of existence about 1/septillionth of a second, and everything is almost completely all empty space of the void. So who says you can't fly?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be
Yeah.
the one. I know that I've jumped off some roofs before and it didn't work. And I skydive a lot and it doesn't work that way for me. That's not my superhuman ability.
It's a pesky thing called gravity.
Hey, I do have a superpower in being able to land in the hard landings on under a parachute and survive. I've noticed that.
Yeah.
I can skydive. Sky landing, that's a little bit harder for me.
Well, I think again, like we're on Earth, and within the realm and the dynamics of Earth, there are certain laws. And
Yes.
so there we have, again, we are infinite beings, and that means we have infinite potential for anything. But within that, there are laws of this planet and this realm. And so I think there's obviously a dance between the two, a relationship. Again, like, not to overuse this word dynamic, but it's a flow. And so I think it's fascinating too to get to play with it and figure out, okay, like, what can we do with our infinite potential within this realm?
Yeah.
And and let's maximize that as much as we can, but then also with a never letting that curiosity go, I think.
Like I said, the right question, genius.
Yeah.
And that's what curiosity really is. And I really, for me, that's after my near-death experience in 2007, which is a story for another day. And I came back with this realization of definitely much more than my physical body, and here for a very, say, a much larger reason and purpose than what I had thought before. That with that in mind, we have this ability to, I'm going to go back to what you said is we. When you say we are more, well, that's the thing, is we're here to have this interplay in the 3D world. We signed up for the Earth School, where we got we chose to have our memory taken. Because, I mean, think about it. If you knew all the endings to all the movies in every single theater, would you ever want to go to the movie? No. And so for the creator to know itself better by sending us the probes of consciousness down to experience every single emotion, every single circumstance, every single feeling, every single everything that is possible. Well, it can't happen if we came down here knowing. We would be, first of all, we wouldn't want to stay here. We'd just say, oh, I'm out of here. I'm going home.
Right?
but
How
all
frustrating would that be?
exactly. And so it's important that we have that agreement when we come here to have the memory wipe, because that way we can experience this life as a being experiencing a life, not as a being who came in knowing everything already. There are those individuals that do come in, though.
Hmm.
They come in, but they come in for a very different reason. As I understand it, if you're familiar with Dr. David Hawkins and
Hmm.
the power versus force, in his book, Transcending the Levels of Consciousness, he talks about this. Those beings come in, the fully enlightened. They are the people that resonate at 600 or above, and there are currently 4 or maybe 5 on the planet. But they actually balance the entire human race as far as the levels of consciousness to keep us into the levels of power instead of into force. And so, if people are not familiar with that, the book is called Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins. It's an amazing resource. It gives a very clinical, scientific, logical understanding of why some people do what they do and why they're
Hmm.
like they are, and same with you too, and why you're here and what you're experiencing. It's really quite an amazing book. And so, with that in mind, a lot of people, I think, read those books and they go, "Oh God, why can't I be enlightened like Buddha?" It's like, okay? Let's just examine that for a little bit. Buddha said that when he was attaining enlightenment, it felt like there was fire in his veins, and all of his bones were being broken at the same time. You you're really ready to step into that, right? You get a sliver and cry.
Yeah.
That is not, enlightenment is not for the faint hearted, and it's not for the weak, and it's not for the people who are not 100% really ready and willing to give up the vessel at any time with absolute non-attachment. That's hard to do. Even for the most depressed person who's on their, like, they're suicidal. If you put them in a cage with a lion, they're going to fight for their life.
Hmm.
Throw them in the ocean with a great white shark circling them. They're gonna freak out. Their body will want to stay alive, right? And so, why I mention that is that we're all here experiencing exactly what we're supposed to be experiencing, and that othering that I mentioned before, where people feel like they're not where they should be in their life because they haven't attained X, or they have not been able to walk on water, whatever that might be. That really is looking at things, I feel, from the wrong perspective. Instead of, like I said, that reverence, I'm here, I get to experience another day. How can I make this day the very best day possible? How can I enjoy the hell out of this so much that if this is my last one, this is my best one?
Yeah.
You
I
do
think,
that.
yeah, I think that really comes from that conditioned cultural perspective versus like when I have read some of Dr. Hawkins' books. Uh, for me, it just sparks more of that curiosity. I'm like, ooh, well, now I want to know, like, where am I vibrating? And like just figuring that out. And then like once I know that, oh, okay, well, now I know where I am. How do I get like how do I vibrate higher? Or, so and but I think, there's all of us have to come to this point where we're ready and willing just to let a lot of that shit go. Like it doesn't matter what we've achieved. Like, do
Yeah,
we have everything we need on, like the basics of survival? For most of us, especially in the Western world, the answer is yes.
for
I
sure.
mean, for the most part, there are definitely some that don't. But, like if you're to the point where you have your basic needs met, and now again, you're addressing your health and wellness issues. Okay, great. You get that stuff, like you have a toolbox, you're implementing things, you're seeing some improvements. And I think, even though that's a lot of times a physical journey, I think there's also a mental, emotional, and spiritual journey with that too, because we start to realize what created the situation that you're in now, and what do you need to let go of in order to move past it, like Maybe I don't need to be involved in every single drama in the workplace that I'm in. Like, is that serving me? No, it's just stressing me out and causing more disease. Is there anything I can do to change it? If not, then just let it go. And that's like really hard for some people because they
Mhm.
care so much. And I see that a lot within the healthcare field. I care so much about A, B, or C. How can I not be upset about the whatever it is? And it's like, but is being upset serving you? Is being upset serving the solution that you want, or the outcome or the result that you would like to see instead? No. So how do we get, how do we still be involved
Yeah,
and lead and make change without letting without letting the all the things that are not in the alignment that we want take us out?
right. How to be in the world but not of the world,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah,
Right.
that little thing.
And to that point, I think a lot of people also in the spiritual path, they don't have as much grace for themselves as they could have. So, for instance, on that Hawkins scale of consciousness, there were 4 avatars. There have been 4 avatars that reached the level of, in this scale, the 1000 level, which is the highest level that a human being can attain in their consciousness before they have to give up their body and cannot be physical anymore. So it started off with Krishna, then it went to Zoroaster, then it was Buddha, and then Jesus was the last avatar at that level. There have been others that have been close. But for Jesus, even Jesus got mad and threw the money peddlers out and was flipping tables and pissed off. He dropped down into the 200 of, like below 200 of anger, and then he went back up. So that's another thing as well that I think a lot of people in the spiritual space is they fucking fake it. I'm sorry, but that's true. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, I must be, yeah, but they got all this turmoil and anger and things, and they're not willing to actually drop in the work. So what do? Ayahuasca, mushrooms. Let's take some acid. Let's just totally get to the root of all of this stuff. But really being able to sit down and just go, what am I feeling right now? It is okay. I love myself. This is a normal, natural feeling for me to be having. I'm going to let this wash through me and out through me so that it doesn't stay with me. But I'm glad I get to have this experience and look at it from that perspective of there's nothing wrong with you. If you have stage 4 terminal lung cancer, there's still nothing wrong with you, because we look at it from the small s self perspective of survival. And I understand that. After dying and choosing to come back, though, I could tell you this is definitely not the end. This is a blank in our existence. And it's sad, after so much research into the out of body phenomenon and talking with so many other people that have done the research, even people that have worked for the CIA doing these things, most people, most beings blink, and just like a dream, you forget about it when you wake up. When we leave our body, a lot of times most beings forget they ever had the life, but the soul doesn't. But it's an interesting thing, and that's a totally different subject. That said, I'd like to take the time to shift gears just a little bit to
Mhm.
something that you said with making our body good and strong and then going into those abilities. I think we're going all the way back kind of like to the start of our conversation, because I'd like to tie this in with how people can get involved and do something. Now,
Mm.
we all breathe, right? It's the first thing we do when we're born, and everybody leaves with an exhale. Just what happens. And yet, in between that starting point and that quote end point, we have about 25 to 29,000 times a day that we get an opportunity to breathe, and then to take ourselves back into presence using our breath to harness this energy out of the atmosphere into our body, also known as chi, to be able to store it. And that's when we're going to start creating that better health in our body. So the yang, excuse me, I'll get a little drink, a lot of talking. Yang and Qi is, in Chinese philosophy, a solar phenomenon. They say it gets trapped in the atmosphere from the sun, and then we inhale it into our body. And so you've got some people, I was just on a call with a breatharian, that they did not eat food for over 2 years at all. And I'm like, wow, okay. but they got all of their energy from the sun and from their breath. So it is possible.
Mhm.
I personally like, food. I enjoy that. That's one of the reasons why I came. Tiramisu and red wine. I think, so those are great things in life to experience and enjoy
Yeah.
for me. That said, when we take ourselves into this place of health and true balance, we start to have a lot of things open up for us that up until that point were only belief, or maybe even not even belief. Maybe they were completely unknown. In order to know ourselves, we have to sit with ourselves. That's probably, I'd say, the biggest and most important benefit of meditation. And when people, a lot of people do yoga and they think that yoga is the stretching kind and hatha or ashtanga. No, that's not the original yoga. Of course, that is now. But thousands of years going back, the original yogas were to sit down, like in full lotus, breathe, and don't move for hours
Mhm.
and be with your breath and to meditate daily. And to that point, starting on January 17th, and this may release after this, but everybody is welcome to come and join me on the Pyramid Meditation Channel, or the PMC Global. And every Friday, I release a new episode with a world disrupting, like literally best in the world authority in the fields of genomics, in vibroacoustics, in meditation, in tantra, in nutrition. This is an amazing show. It's on YouTube. So PMC Global. And this is something where people who want to explore more of all these different things, I'm bringing the best people in the world. Full stop to this. And we're already recorded all the way into April as far as episodes. And I have 3 more after this today, because these people are the ones where if we bring them together in a collective, like unified convergence of world changers like this is what the world needs right now. And this is a great platform. So there's that. That's something that people can do right off the bat and learn about the technologies these other people are bringing into the world. And then there's also, of course, mine, where I just open this up, and this is for everybody. When I won those awards in Dubai, I've asked myself a really important question. If this is my last day on earth, have I done everything that I could to help as many people as I could while I was here? And the egotistical part of me said, well, but we're trying. But the real big S self of big S self of me
Mhm.
said no. And so every Wednesday from 10 a.m. till 10:45 a.m. Mountain Time, I offer a free class. Everybody can come. Also, every other Thursday from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Mountain Time, every other Thursday, I offer a master class where we go in deep dive, and I give everybody very actionable breath work and fitness skills, things that they will notice an oh my God reaction. For most people, I'd say about 90% of people have an oh my God reaction within about 10 minutes. So these are free. They're my gift to everyone. And I've got all kinds of, oh, this is cool too. My app, I'm about to release an app at the start of February where you'll
Oh.
have the integrated ascension method, live classes, leaderboard, all kinds of cool stuff right there in the palm of your hand. So you can take this unique system with you wherever you go. So I've got so much to give, and I realize that who knows, time is always limited, because even if ask somebody who's 90,
Mhm.
and they're going to say, I really wish I would have spent more time at the office. Not. But we just don't know. And so doing what I can with what I have to help the people who are ready to step into this and elevate, that's the only reason I'm still here.
Excellent. Well, I'm so glad that you're still here. So, thank you so much. I feel like today was an amazing conversation. You talked a lot about some free resources, but maybe also where can people find you on the socials? We didn't
Sure.
talk about that.
Well, just so everybody's aware, for those free classes, you can just find them on my website, which is iampure.energy.
Okay.
iampure.energy will take you there. You'll have all kinds of access to those. Then integrated ascension method. So I am, but if you search in I am on socials, it's not going to pop up. That's just the acronym. So integrated ascension method on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Pinterest, YouTube, all the normal ones.
Okay.
All
Beautiful. And just also too, if you're driving, then don't worry about writing any of this down. All of these links, and I'll have you send me the links that you mentioned for the new show notes page will be in the show notes. And that's at drlaramay.com/podcast. And you can just find all the episodes there with all the links. So we'll talk about that when we're done. So, but thank you so much. As always, a wonderful and beautiful conversation.
Thank you, Dr. Lara. I appreciate being here. And to everybody out there, I hope you have an amazing day on purpose.
Yes. Namaste, everyone.